Madness, mayhem. Let's mute the TV. And a little bit of magic in La Caja Magica, Madrid. Stefanos Tsitsipas has just beat the king of clay. Rafa has lost at all of his favorite tournaments in 2019 so far. This is pretty incredible, pretty miraculous stuff. I gotta say, Stefanos Tsitsipas has followed the Fabio Fognini game plan, blueprint perfectly in this match and really stuck to it through thick and thin, and we will talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about what happened with Novak Djokovic and Dominic Thiem. All will be made clear on today's Coffee Break Tennis podcast. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. I am your host, Matt Bradshaw. Very sorry there is no video today. The forecast was for a 90%, 80% chance of rain Friday, Saturday. I teach tennis. That's my other job. And I thought, there'll be no tennis Friday or Saturday. Somehow the rain didn't happen Friday. And then this morning I thought, I'll watch the Djokovic match. We'll do a little podcast or we'll do a full show. And so that didn't happen. No rain, very busy. And now, my other job, the band. I am moments away from having to rush out the door and go play La Musica. So we got to do this podcast real quick and no video. So I apologize for that. But let's get into it. What a match from Stefanos Tsitsipas. I mentioned the Fabio Fognini blueprint. I'm trying to think. Who else did it? Dominic Thiem. Yeah, Dominic Thiem. He did it pretty well too. But the way Stefanos did it, because Nadal did not really play bad at all. Maybe comment below. What do you think? Which version of Nadal was the best? Today's Nadal against Stefanos? Nadal against his loss against Fognini in Monte Carlo, his loss against Dominic Thiem in Barcelona. Which version of Nadal was closest to his level? We know he's not at his best this year, period. But I think there's a case to say that he was playing pretty well. And Stefanos had plenty of opportunities to fall apart. There were, I want to say early in the third set, break points he saved where it just felt like Rafa's going to take over this thing. The second set, obviously, Rafa came back really hard. So, like I said, the Fabio Fognini blueprint, let me talk about that. That's the key to this match, and we really don't have much time. We got another 5 to 10 minutes, then we got to get out of here. So this will be brief today. The Fognini blueprint was to strand Rafa on a little island, and that is deep behind the baseline in his backhand corner. Rafa, in the past especially, will run around that backhand and go all-out offensive on a forehand to get out of that corner and get somewhere closer back to, behind the baseline in the middle of the court. But Fabio Fognini was able to go so heavy and deep, taking the ball really early to that backhand corner, that Rafa was always kind of stranded back there, hitting backhands or hitting an inside-out forehand where, sometimes he would just miss because he's panicked a little bit, or just it wouldn't be a very good shot and it wouldn't really allow him time to recover, and Fognini would pounce on it. So Stefanos, the thing that's amazing and different with Stefanos is that he can play kind of like Federer, Fognini, and take the ball earlier and really hurt Rafa there. But even when Stefanos was in a more defensive position in the court, maybe he was pushed back further or a little out of position recovering after the previous shot, he would still be able to put that ball heavy. And this is a guy, when we saw him at the Australian Open, he loved that inside-out forehand so much. So to see him go all inside in or backhands up the line is pretty interesting because, it tells us that clearly they got the game plan on Rafa. They saw, if you look at the match footage from Monte Carlo and Barcelona, you got a good idea of what to do. So I was very impressed with how Stefanos stuck with that game plan. There was one point, I believe it was when he broke to go up the double break maybe in the third set. I can't remember exactly when, but there was this point I do remember very well where Stefanos had, I well, okay, I remember it very well, but I can't remember if it was a backhand up the line or an inside-in forehand up the line, but either way, it could have even been a cross-court forehand, but Stefanos was either in his backhand corner or kind of a little bit leaning that way from the middle of the court, and he gets Rafa real wide and deep in the backhand corner. Okay, so try to visualize this. And Rafa goes over there and just crushes the backhand, two-hand backhand cross-court. Stefanos, who's moving so well. I don't think we've ever seen a guy this big and strong who moves this well, ever. He runs over to his forehand corner, and this Rafa backhand is already in the doubles alley, going towards the crowd. It's very well struck. And Stefanos, from the doubles alley, goes up the line. Perfect. Forehand right up the line. And that's so scary because if you don't hit it perfect, Rafa will go over there, and he has a forehand, and he doesn't even have to do anything special. He'll just take it cross-court. It's a winner because you're so far out of position. You got to visualize this. Stefanos is on the dead sprint racing to his forehand corner after Rafa has just crushed the two-hand backhand. Rafa is also recovering, but you don't hit it perfect, you're dead. And Stefanos hit it perfect in the corner. And Rafa's like shocked. The look on Rafa's face when the first match point, he's serving 3-5, I think it was, in the third. And Rafa hits, I think it might have been a backhand, doesn't matter, hits the tape. You expect, hey, it's Rafa, it's Madrid. It's going to dribble over the net and land on Stefanos' side, and it doesn't. And the look, find it. If you have tennis TV, go to the replay. There were 4 or 5 match points, something like that. Find the first one. It must have been 30-all to set up this match point. And look at Rafa's face. And they'll show some people in the crowd. Look at their faces. It's astounding, astonishing, befuddling, amazing. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, you might think, what is this guy freaking hate Rafa? I love Rafa. I'm a big Rafa fan. There's a big poster of Roger Federer cradling Rafa in his arms like a big baby on the wall right here at my desk. Normally you'll see that, but like I said, we're in a ultra time crunch. So anyways, that's enough about Rafa and Tsitsipas. We have a final coming that is not a final anyone expected. Novak Djokovic and 20-year-old Stefanos Tsitsipas, who has single-handedly, in less than half a year's time, destroyed Sasha Zverev's reputation as the face of the next gen. And now it's Stefanos. Stefanos beating the 2-time defending champion Roger Federer at the Australian Open this year. Okay? That was pretty big. And backing it up, usually when you see something like that, they lose the very next round. He didn't. He made it to the semis. Got crushed by Rafa. Keep in mind, last year, Rafa beat Stefanos pretty handily a couple times on clay, also on hard court in Canada. Now, fast forward, here we are in Madrid. Rafa desperately seeking to get on top of things on clay this year. As we know the story, he's yet to win a title. This is like the first time in his career that's ever happened since he was a freaking teenager himself. Stefanos, to beat him here, after Rafa's got plenty of matches under his belt on clay, to be feeling good enough to take care of some punk, next-gen, 20-year-old. And it's astounding. So anyways, like I said, enough about that. We've got one heck of a final. I said in the last video, or podcast, whatever it was, the ATP blocked it for using a little bit of highlight footage. But I'm encouraged because a friend of mine says that they have an idea to solve my YouTube problem with the ATP. And I'm so busy running around all over the place today that I haven't had a chance to read that message all the way through. But I will. Give me a brief moment. Just need to clear my throat. Anyways, okay, back at it. So hopefully I'll be able to fix that YouTube problem pretty soon. We'll be able to do highlights one day. Wouldn't that be very nice? What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. It was something about what we talked about in the last... Oh, yes, of course. In the last video. I said if Roger Federer beats Dominic Thiem, I think he's very likely to beat Novak Djokovic. I had not watched the Djokovic Jeremy Chardy match at that point. Late last night, I watched that whole match, and Djokovic, just like Stefanos, is rapidly becoming the face of the next gen and looking like a guy who might be the face of tennis, right? A guy's face, you can put it on a poster. It's a good-looking guy. He's got the game. I mean, he's got everything. In that last video, though, like Stefanos is rapidly... Sorry, I lost my thought again. Like Stefanos is rapidly rising to the top of the next gen, Djokovic is rapidly getting back to his form. Now, he still is a little sloppy on the serve and the forehand at times, but the backhand is looking very good. The serve is looking better. Everything's looking better for Djokovic. And one of the things Djokovic does so well that has helped him be what he is, one of the guys in the GOAT debate, is a little bit of what Rafa does and a little bit what Roger does. He puts them together so well, and when he's playing his very best, it's really like the perfect hybrid game. Djokovic can be so offensive, dictating play from the baseline, taking the ball early with his excellent ground strokes. When he's serving well, he's almost unbeatable. And when he needs to drop back and play defense, he's almost as good as Rafa at doing that. And he's, almost as good as Roger at playing the more offensive game. So when he can go back and forth and be really smart about when he moves in, when he backs up, he's very, very difficult to beat. And Djokovic looked the closest to that I've seen in that Jeremy Chardy match, since what? I guess January, the Australian Open. Djokovic looked very good. When I saw that, I instantly thought, this is right after, not right after, but this is after seeing all the matches yesterday, including Federer, which we'll talk about. I don't have enough time today to get into that Federer match. It was great with Dominic Thiem. I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow or definitely Monday. Worst case scenario, we'll be back Monday. So as soon as I saw Djokovic Chardy, I thought for sure Dominic Thiem is going to really struggle, and maybe Dominic Thiem will be able to do it, but it's like Dominic Thiem didn't learn. If you look at the stats, the first set where Roger Federer beats Dominic Thiem is way back. There were points that were just ridiculous how easy Federer was holding serve because he would just serve and volley, and it looked like a practice drill against somebody who's not a professional player. And Dominic Thiem figured it out, and you look at the graphs, you look at the stats. He moves way in on the second set and starts to dictate play and not let Roger just do whatever he wants, and that changed everything in that match. And anyway, so you would think he would learn from that, but he's making life hard on himself by playing back and letting Djokovic dictate play and having to run all over the place. And it's really hard to hit an incredible shot that's a clean winner or where you just take charge of the point from far back. Part of why I'm so impressed by Stefanos Tsitsipas, the City Pass. Tsitsipas, he's so good at dictating play, and he's so good at sensing when to come into the net and just finish you, which he did very well against Rafa. So many times where, let me say this one thing before I get back to Dominic Thiem, aus Österreich. Stefanos is able to put the full puzzle together in this match with Rafa. So many times we've seen guys hurt Rafa and put Rafa in a vulnerable position in a rally, but then they just hang back behind the baseline, and Rafa gets right back on top of the rally, ultimately wins the point. We see that all the time. But to see a guy like Tsitsipas, who has the guts to rip that forehand up the line, because he knows that point I talked about earlier, if he tries to do anything else that's a safer shot, Rafa's going to win. So be bold and go for the shot where you can win. And he does it. And there were times where Rafa would have found his way back in a rally. He was vulnerable. Tsitsipas was hurting him with shots, good shots from the baseline. And Rafa probably would have been okay, except for Tsitsipas, super fast, flying into the net, finishing at the net. Nothing Rafa can do. No one has the nerve to play like this against him, usually. Sometimes they do, but they don't have the skill set. They don't have the baseline game to get the opportunities frequently enough to come to the net. It's really a special mix. It reminds me of Roger Federer in a lot of ways. But one thing I said at the beginning of the year, Tsitsipas is bigger, stronger than Federer ever. As Tsitsipas gets older, especially matures, gets even stronger and faster, he's going to be such a beast to deal with. His tactical game is so good. And one thing I said is, Tsitsipas is a spot server like Roger Federer, so that's great. I love spot serving. That's way more smart than just blasting serves and not really knowing where the heck they're going. And Tsitsipas, bigger than Federer, taller, a few inches taller, is going to eventually be able to really just bomb serves. And, the Isner effect, when you're really tall, it's like a serve's coming at you from out of the top of a tree. Tsitsipas, not that tall, thank God, though, because he wouldn't move like he does if he was much taller. Sasha Zverev even. He's more mobile for a big guy, but he's bigger than Tsitsipas. And at some point, there's a point of diminishing returns with height and tennis. It's nice to have the extra height on your serve, but as soon as it starts affecting your movement or you start getting injured very frequently because of your bigness, then it's not a good thing. So anyways, back to Dominic Thiem. Making life hard on himself a lot. Smart at times. In that second set, he seemed more devoted to playing closer to the baseline and dictating. But Djokovic, like I saw in the Shardy match, I thought, well, if Djokovic troubles Dominic Thiem with the, taking the ball early, like Federer did so well, I said, even if Dominic Thiem is able to adapt like he did against Federer in that second set and play more offensively, take the ball earlier and not be so far back, running all over the place where, like I said before, it's really hard to hit a great shot from very far away from the baseline. Rafa's really the only guy who's done that so much, and Rafa is always looking to come in and hit his great shots a little closer to the line. I thought even if Dominic Thiem does adjust, Djokovic is able to back up a little and play the defense and just keep things alive until Dominic Thiem tries too much and misses, or until Djokovic sees the perfect ball to step right back in and go on the offensive. And, of course, that happened. Anyways, we got to wrap things up. So that's all we've got for you today. I just want to let everyone know, if you want more shows, if you want less occasions like today where I have to race off to get somewhere very fast, and, I could have talked about so much today, so much. If you want more of that, you need to go to the Coffee Break Tennis Patreon. We just started this. Thrilled, and I'm going to give some shout-outs to some of our new Patreons in our next video. Thrilled that in the first time I mention it, we've already got a few people signed up. If you want to help Coffee Break Tennis be super big time, if you want to help Coffee Break Tennis grow so that the ATP is afraid to keep trying to intimidate us by blocking our videos, go to patreon.com/coffeebreaktennis. There is a link in the description down below. And if you can't, maybe it's not in your budget right now, we still love and appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening to the Coffee Break Tennis Podcast today. Sorry we didn't have more time. Of course, we will be back very soon. Worst case, Monday, maybe tomorrow. Please enjoy the Djokovic-Tsitsipas match tomorrow. And if you had to pick a winner, comment it below. What do you think? I feel like Stefanos is the man of destiny at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised to see him win. But be warned, Djokovic closer to his best than he's been since the Australian Open. Thanks for listening. Check out that Patreon, and we'll see you very soon. See ya!